I just want to start my presentation, with my pranams to Dr. Kurian, who, as Dr. Shivaraman was mentioning, he's known as the milkman of India. And he was instrumental in creating the white revolution in India. And from a time when India was to wait for milk powder to come from the Western countries, he just transformed the country's self-dependence on milk by creating this white revolution. And today, we are able to see good production and good consumption of milk for the great efforts done by Dr. Kurian and his team over the years. So, like in the slide, you could see, the journey of our milk, of what it was in the past and how the transformation has taken place, the evolution. If you see, the days, the olden days, in the villages, people used to have 1 or 2 cows and they used to milk and go and give the fresh milk to the neighboring households. And they used to just be happy with few liters of milk consumed by them and sold in the neighboring households. And slowly the transformation happened such a way that these people who reared cows used to take this milk to the neighboring urban areas and cycle and go and give this milk into the neighboring towns. And slowly then started, the white revolution in India, and the cooperatives in India was formed. And in the 1970s, you could find that, milk was being bottled and sold. People who were born in, say, 60s and 70s would know that, milk was sold in the booths in the cooperative sector in the bottles, which are reusable bottles. So slowly the transformation from, milk being sold in loose form went into a small type of transformation of packaged milk in bottles. And from then on, when, the larger transportation of milk had to take place, and, the milk need to get transported from villages to the cities and then to the larger cities and to the metros, a little bit of revolution took place on this packaging when, the poly pouches were being introduced for packing. And the poly pouches created some type of revolution in transporting the milk at low cost than the bottles. And then when the urban culture started developing, the milk for the urban market was started packed in HTB bottles. And all this up to the HTB bottles, if you see, the milk was being sold fresh, and basically it was giving a shelf life of 2 to 3 days, and it has to cold in the cold chain. Then slowly now the revolution is starting to take place on packaging, and slowly the long shelf life milk is coming onto the shelf, and the packaging in multi-layer pouches had started, and this pouches could be kept in ambient temperature. UHT milk is being packed into these long shelf life packets, and the shelf life was increased from 2 to 3 days to 90 days. And then when Tetra Pak came with the technology for packing milk, the same UHT milk, they give a shelf life of 180 days, 6 months. So you see the transformation of milk from a time when it was being sold in loose form in the villages, went into the cities, then packaging technology revolutionized, and slowly now it is going into a longer shelf life product. This is a transformation that is taking place in the milk industry from the 1960s to the current date. Now, if you see how this milk got transformed from the villages when, the farmers were selling milk in their, neighboring villages only. Slowly, this was, transformed into a commodity that could be marketed all over the country. So that from a time when, milk was in a deficit in certain areas and little bit surplus in other areas, equitable distribution and equitable consumption in India was being brought by organized sector, both by cooperatives and the private, to create some type of a good system of collection, production, and marketing. So I'll just go through a gist of what happens in the milk industry now. If you see, we call the collection centers in the village today as village level collection centers, where the farmers who are enrolled by both the cooperatives and the private sector, they collect the milk in these collection centers exclusively manned by the companies people, and the companies, private as well as cooperative, give support services to the farmers in development of the milk production by increasing, giving them good breeds and giving them animal care and giving them feed and fodder and collecting the milk. So they come to the village level collection center, they pour the milk, and the milk is checked for the quality. So you could see earlier days when milk was being sold in the villages, there was not much of a quality check for the milk. So now when it has become like a marketable product all over the country and an organized sector came in, they started checking for the quality of milk, both for the fat and the SNF, and also the adulteration in the milk. They used to check at the collection point, and then they used to take it in the cans, and these cans were transported from these collection centers to the bulk milk coolers, where immediately the temperature of the milk was brought down to 4 degrees, and it was transported in insulated containers to the plant, and it was received at the plant and stored in the silos. So if you see the transformation from the collection point, how fast the milk was being cooled, by 2 hours or maximum of 3 hours, the quality of milk was being able to be maintained, because there we call a parameter called MBRT. That actually is a test, methylene blue reduction test is being done, wherein if suppose it's more than 3.5 hours, and the fastest the milk is being cooled from the time it is collected, the quality of milk is good, and the milk could be processed well and then transported to a larger area. So the organized sector brought in this concept of quality of collection of milk, and also transporting the milk to the plant as fast as possible, and then start the processing work. Now let me go into how the milk was processed in the plant. Now if you say the milk processing flow, the raw milk, I showed you up to the place when it is being received at the plant and stored in the silo. You're able to see the slide, right? Hello? Everybody is able to see the slide?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. So what happened? So the milk is now, I was showing you that it is brought up to the collection center and up to the production point and stored at the silos. Now from the silos, which is the milk is stored at 4 degrees, it goes to the production line. So in the production process, in the previous slide I showed you, from the milk is when it's brought to the plant, the raw milk storage is kept in the silo. Then what they do is that we separate out the cream, and from the cream, the cream is churned to get the butter, and then the milk is standardized for the required quality of milk, required type of milk. Now we have double toned milk, you have toned milk. The double toned milk is 1.5% fat, and the toned milk is 3% fat. Then you have the standardized milk of 4.5% fat, and the full cream of 6% fat. So to that, the standardization is done, and the excess cream is taken and converted to the butter, and then the milk that is taken for further processing is pasteurized and homogenized. Now what happens in the process of homogenization is the fat globules is broken into minute small parts and equitably distributed in the milk, so that the milk becomes a little bit thicker. For the same percentage of fat, the milk looks a little bit thicker, and also the digestibility of the fat in the body increases. And once the standardization is done, it's pasteurized. Now pasteurization is a process by which there are different types of pasteurization, but the normal pasteurization that is done is it's high temperature, high speed, drop in temperature. So the milk is heated up to 82 degrees, and it is reduced down to 4 degrees in a flash, and the pasteurization process is done. And today there is also addition of other vitamins that is being done to the milk, and then it is stored in the pasteurized tank, and then it is used by packing machine. It's being packed and then put in the cold store and then transported. So that's the process line that I'm showing you. The cream separator is where the cream is separated. Then, from the cream, it's being churned to get the butter. Then the homogenizer is where the fat is homogenized. Then you have the pasteurizer where the milk is being pasteurized and the milk packing is done. So this is the process at which the modern plants are doing nowadays. From the time when it was just sold as loose milk, the value addition is being done by ensuring the quality at the point of reception, then also doing a standardization of the milk, packing it in a hygienic condition, and on a cold chain, it is being distributed so that the quality of milk is maintained. Now, I was telling you about, like, once it's being created, it's kept in the cold room, and then from the cold room in the different insulated and puff vehicles and the refrigerated vehicles, the milk is being transported to the market. And we operate different types of vehicles. We operate a ACE vehicle, we operate a 709, 409, and a lorry to transport depending upon how much distance we go and what is the volumes that we handle. Now, if you see, once it's being packed and it goes to the market, basically it goes to the distributor who distributes in a smaller vehicle, a puffed vehicle, and in a smaller, vehicles where he's loaded with some type of a puff box, or he ties the crates, and it's going to the retail points. Now, if you see the retail points, there are different types of retail. Now, you have a retail, company-owned dairy stores. Like in Shakti, we have around 40 dairy stores in Coimbatore, where the milk and milk products are being stored. And then it goes to the Kirana stores, it goes to the neighboring vegetable markets, vegetable shops, it goes to the modern trade, and it goes to the supermarkets. It is sold by the milk booths, and this is where all the retail takes place. And from there, it goes to the end user. And end user segment, we basically categorize as either it's a home segment, or it's the tea shops and bakeries, or it's the hotel and catering segment, and the institutions. The institutions might be consuming milk and other milk products. There is a lot of institutions who consume milk as raw milk. They also consume milk powder. They consume dairy whitener. They consume even whey concentrates, which I'll be dealing later on. So all these products, value-added products, the institutions buy. So basically, the end users are our home segment, the tea shops, hotels and catering, and the institutions. So this is where the model of distribution takes place. Now, if you see the major distribution channels, as I was representing you in the pictorial way, from the dairy plant, it goes to the distributor. From the distributor, it goes to the retailers. And from the retailers, it goes to the HoReCa. Or it also goes from the distributor to the HoReCa and institutions. And also from the distributor, send it to the home. And home consumers either go to the retail point or pick, or the retail points go and deliver to the home. So that's the way the model is. Or sometimes it goes from the distributors to the HoReCa. There are HoReCa distributors and institution distributors who pick up from the plant and directly distribute. Smaller companies have a model wherein they sell from the dairy plant, they directly go to the retailers and the HoReCa segments. So that's another model which some of the dairy companies, small dairy companies operate, but people who are processing more than 50,000-60,000 liters, they go through the distributors and to the retail, and it goes to the distributors to the HoReCa segment. This is the model which normally the distribution model in the modern days, the companies are following. Now, in the modern days, if you see the product classification, how it is done, we have the non-fermented products, the fermented products, and the coagulated products. Now, for non-fermented products, basically it's the milk, the evaporated milk, the condensed milk, the flavored milk, where no culture is added. It's the milk per se is being used, and this milk is sprayed right into milk powder, skim milk powder, and the whey which is being used for production of the coagulated products, the whey is taken out, and that's sprayed, and you get the whey protein concentrate and whey protein powder, and also you can manufacture dairy whitener by addition of sugar and spraying the milk. Fermented products, basically we add some type of culture to the product to produce curd. We produce buttermilk. We produce cultured butter. See, in the cream we add a little bit of culture to enhance the flavor of the butter, and then it is being churned to get the butter. Then yogurt, the modern day yogurt, is a cultured product. And coagulated products, basically where we use enzyme or acid to coagulate the protein and fat. If you see, cheese is a coagulated product, is being coagulated by an enzyme, rennet, and you coagulate it and drain out the whey, and you use the cheese, you age the cheese, and then different types of cheese are being manufactured. You have classes of cheese that is being sold in the market. You have the processed cheese, you have the Emmental cheese, the plain cheese. So there are different types of cheeses that is being manufactured. Then paneer normally, which we call as the cottage cheese, is coagulated by acid. It's being coagulated by acetic acid. You add acetic acid to the milk, and it's it's coagulated, and the whey is drained, and you press and get the paneer. So these are the major classification in the modern trade today, in the modern parlance that we do as non-fermented, fermented, and the coagulated products. Now, if you go to the distribution type of classification, there we classify basically as fresh, chilled, ambient, and frozen. Now, what is this fresh product? In fresh product, if you see, basically it's like short shelf life product, wherein the shelf life is 2 to 3 days max, and it's distributed at 4 degrees. The chain of distribution has to be maintained. And the chilled product categories, what we have is we have a shelf life of 10 to 15 days. And it is distributed at 4 degrees centigrade of pouch curd, cup curd, paneer. So here the shelf life at 4 degrees is around 10 to 15 days. That's one chain of product we call as a chilled one. And then we have the ambient products. Now, what are these ambient products? This can be sold in the normal room temperature, like the ghee, the skim milk powder, the dairy whitener. All this thing is sold in the ambient temperature. So we call as the ambient product. Then the last one is the frozen products. Now, frozen products, you see, if it has a shelf life of up to 3 to 12 months. And also it has to be kept at minus 36 to 40 degrees C, at which it has to be distributed, maintained, and sold. Like, for example, you have the ice creams and the frozen yogurt. Now, to just put up our thoughts into the past. Now, till now, I just gave you a gist about what was the past, how it started, how the milk distribution was churned into a type of a product that could be distributed to larger markets, and little bit of the shelf life of it can be increased, and slowly now the shelf life is being tried to increase to 90 days and 120 days and 180 days by ultra high treatment, you call it the UHT, where the milk is heated to 120 degrees and cooled and packed in a very aseptic condition, and that's the transformation that has taken place. Now, when we analyze the strength, opportunities, the SWOT analysis basically we do for the industry of the past, present, and future, you would come to understand what this industry is going through and what's the transformation that is taking place. Now, India, if you see, as Dr. Shivaraman also was mentioning, we are the largest producer of milk in the world. We were behind US, and now we have overtaken, and today the strength is we are the largest producer with around 187.7 million metric tons per year we produce, and which was just 55.6 in 91-92. So that was a threefold increase in 30 years. The milk production has revolutionized and white revolution brought about in this country. And that transformation, if you see, has also made the per capita consumption. If you see, within 10 years, like in 2010, we had around 266 grams per person per day. Has now gone up to 394 grams per person per day in 2019, which means in a decade, it was a 50% increase in the per capita consumption of milk. So, the consumption of milk is increasing over the period of time. And 73 million households, that roughly around 7.3 crores of household is involved in animal rearing, and it's giving livelihood for the rural family in India. And India has the largest livestock population of 53.6 crores, and milk constitutes 67% of the total livestock output. If you can just see, for the livestock output, milk is giving the maximum contribution to it. And there's a large channel of distribution that has taken place in the current scenario of milk in the country. So if you see, there is a lot of retail coming up in the country. There is a lot of distribution, a lot of private sector brands have come. So what has happened is, one side the pace of production is also increased, the distribution is increasing, the consumption is increasing. So if you see, milk market has been transformed into a product in the village to a product for masses in the country. So this is a transformation that took place in the last say around 60 to 70 years, and now the pace is picking up from 1992. If you see, when the private sector came in, the pace of consumption and distribution is increasing. Now let us come to the opportunities. I was telling you, the demand of milk again is going to be projected at 240 million metric tons by 2025. by another 4-5 years, if you see, and the per capita consumption is going to go to 592 grams per day. So if you see, how much of milk need to be produced in the shortest period, another 4-5 years, you can find that we have to increase it from 187 million metric tons to 240. And the per capita consumption is also going to increase, around about 100-200 grams per day per person. So the milk industry has to keep pace of this production and making availability to the masses. So that's a great opportunity for the milk industry in the days to come. Now, if you see, milk is the business in the agriculture sector where it is giving 365 days revenue to the farmer. If he's growing any crop, he's going to get revenue only for 2 cycles in a year or maximum 3 cycles. So there's a gap of 120 to 200 days of this production time. Then he has to sell his commodity in the market, agricultural commodity. It takes time for him to sell. There is a huge fluctuation of the prices of commodities in the market, agricultural commodities. So if you see, milk gives some type of cushion to the agriculture sector today for them to get earnings for throughout the year, 365 days, and they get the payment within 7 to 8 days from the time they supply. So it's giving a better cash flow for them, it's giving good revenue for them, and it's a sustainable business for the agriculture sector to the farmers. So that's the reason you can find that the livestock sector, in the livestock sector, milk contributes today 67%. And now, in our country, Honorable Prime Minister also has told that we have to go for doubling the farmers' income. And I think milk sector is a very good sector that's going to give good revenue to the farmers. And I think the farmers will keep pace with this production so that in the days to come, we will also be getting good flow of milk, and production and as well as distribution will be maintained for people to get good milk at the right time. Now, with the growth of modern retail, the milk also has a very good scope for selling the long shelf life milk products in the country. So that's a great opportunity. Then, milk cold chain infrastructure is being developed, and today Government of India is giving huge subsidies for people to develop cold chain. Cold chain subsidies are given year after year, and a lot of cold chain distribution is taking place in the country by the subsidy that's also given by the Government of India. Then both government and private sector bodies are today also keeping up pace on the production side by giving good breeds to the farmers, high yielding breeds, and also giving sex semens, wherein, today in the AI program that is being given by the private sector, sex semens are given so that the female calves production is more, and also the milk production can be increased. And if you see, with the higher demographic dividend with the young population, the country, the driving for the consumption for the cheese, yogurt, and flavored milk type of value-added products is going to increase, and it's increasing. And there is also a shift from the loose milk to the branded milk products that is taking place in the country. So this is a great opportunity. So if you see, future is going to be of full of opportunity for the milk sector and the milk product sector. Now, once we see the opportunities and we also see the strength, there are also intrinsic weaknesses which we need to address in the future for us to grow in this industry. And one major area that is now seen in India is the low productivity of the breeds. And there are small farmers. If you see, the milk is being produced by large number of farmers, not like in the Western countries where you have small, big farms with large number of animals, and the production per farm is very high. Whereas in India, it's because it's a livelihood model. You find that large farmers are holding small number of animals, and the productivity of these animals are also less. And today, breed development programs by a lot of research institutes in India is taking place, and NDRI is also into developing of good breeds for the crossbreeds with Indian breeds, so that you get good milk and high production milk, and its advantage to the farmers. So that is a weakness, because that is going at a slow pace. We need to have large number of animal bases with good yield, so that it's both beneficial for the farmers as well as for the industry. And again, the cold chain, as of today, if you see, the cold chain is a major problem in India, whereas it's being addressed by the Government of India by giving a lot of subsidies and being made to establish. But that also needs to keep up a little pace for us to have the cold chain establishment in the country. And cost of operation of cold chain in the country today is a little bit costlier affair, because the transportation cost and the cost of fuel is going up, and that's creating a lot of the pressure on this industry. So that's the area where the future needs to be addressed. And unorganized sector. So that's creating a lot of problems, and the quality parameters of the unorganized sector is not still so efficient to maintain the good quality milk. And slowly, government is also bringing a lot of laws to ensure that the unorganized sector also comes to a type of organized marketing of milk. And if you see today, the dichotomy of both cooperatives and the private sector is there in the market. And because of the competition, the retail trade margin, the distribution cost is also increasing. And also, the milk, surplus milk, which we are able to get at times, we need to convert that into, say, butter and skim milk powder. And the skim milk powder is a product which is a commodity where the prices fluctuate very high, very high. And it also is dependent on the international market. So what happens, dairies at times of surpluses to support the farmer is being converted to skim milk powder and kept. And when the prices fluctuate heavily, there is a huge losses that the industry needs to bear. And also, you are not able to fluctuate the procurement cost, because the cooperatives are operating on in a model where they pay around 65 to 75% to the farmers. And that's the model where private also needs to adapt. And we also pay to that extent of 75% to the farmers, and the balance is 25%, in which you need to maintain all your costs and still bear the brunt of the fall in commodity prices when you store huge SMP stocks. And SMP stocks, the skim milk powder stocks in India, if the fluctuation for a lakh of 2 lakh tons, if suppose there is an opening stock, then the prices are low. And if the prices, the stock of SMP goes down, then the prices go up. But if this commodity prices are falling for a longer period of time, like last 3-4 years, we have seen that the prices have been falling, and then the cost doesn't work out for the industry, and a lot of money in the drop in SMP prices needs to be borne by the private sector. And you see, for every liter of milk we get only 4% of fat, and whereas 8% of SNF is obtained. So you get double the SNF. So that SNF is being converted into powder. And today, a lot of private sector dairies are going in for powder plants, because they need to convert and keep the stock. Otherwise, they can't handle the surplus milk to sustain the farmers' flow of milk, because ultimately the farmers has to be supported, because there's a livelihood for them. So when the huge investment on skim milk powder plant is taking place, and if they are not able to sell the skim milk powder at a good price, then the losses are very heavy. So that's where, that's one area of concern in the future for the dairy industry. Then again, if you see, fodder is something like, in India, that's a major issue. Unlike the Western countries, where they have the silage concept, where the fodder is in surplus is being taken and silaged. There's different type of silage process. They put barrel silage, they put the pit silage, and these fodder is stored for a longer period of time. And during the shortage of fodder, they use the silage fodder for the animals. Whereas India, we are still dependent on the feed for the animals, and even we have the pellet feeding, as well as we have the ration mix to the animals. But again, there the cereal prices goes up, then the cost of input goes up for the farmers. So that's the area of concern for the country, wherein we need to develop a lot of silaged green fodder in India, and silage concept has to come up, whereas some states are adopting that. So on a larger area of the silage concept is being brought into the country, then possibly this vagaries in the feed and fodder problem can be addressed. And that's what I told as far as the weaknesses come. And threats, as I was telling, milk is produced in large quantities by large farmers with lower number of lower yielding animals. So then the higher yielding animals is where we need to address to. And again, if you see, milk products are highly price sensitive, and even for input cost increase of sudden increase in costs of power or fuel or transport, we can't increase the prices, especially the liquid milk. So then we need to have cost optimization in our production process, because input cost of the milk itself comes to around 75%. In the balance 25%, all cost optimization is to be done so that you can maintain the milk prices, and we can't have the luxury of having higher cost structure. So cost reduction and cost management is a vital area in milk industry for the private sector to sustain. And I was telling you that low yielding animals, 4 to 5 liters, has to be increased, and the higher number of farms need to be established, 20 animal farms or 50 animal farms or 100 animal farms, and the integration of farm cycle has to take place. And today, if you see India, from 2 animals, 3 animals, they're slowly migrating to 10 animals. That's all called family farms. Every family owns around 10, and they are trying to, the family rears it and gets around, say, 20,000-30,000 rupees per month. So the family farm concept is picking up in India, and slowly then it has to go for the large commercial farms. So establishment of large commercial farms needs some type of automation. You need to invest on your milking machines, and you need to invest on milking parlors. So there, I think, on a larger scale, if suppose integration takes place in the future, large farms, then you can put in large breeding animals and maintain the animals well, get good milk on a sustained basis, so that the cost of input for the farmers also maintained. The same way, the industry also has the cost advantage of sourcing at X price throughout the year, so that they can also manage their product costing accordingly. So that's where the transformation needs to take place. That's a threat, because that's not taking place at a faster pace. Again, the scattered farming is what, in India it is there. So pooling this milk, getting it on a cost-effective basis, bringing this milk to the plant and distributing to the larger market within a 25% margin, 25% the contribution comes to less than 10%. So you need to maintain your fixed cost and your interest within that 10% is something that very big challenge for the private sector, and that's where it's a major threat. And spurious milk and spurious milk product, adulterated milk product is something the traders trade in the market. That needs to be a little bit addressed to by all agencies, and that's being addressed. And slowly, only the milk has to be processed, milk products has to come from organized sector. That transformation needs to take place, and I think that will take place, and that is also taking place in a slower way. And again, there is also today a little bit of rise in knowledge about, and about the vegetable-based milk products, almond milk. But in India, large consumption of this milk base, vegetable milk base, may not be prevalent, and it may not be so easy to come in the future, because the cost of that milk is also going to be high, and you need to pack that in the Tetra Pak, and that making available that milk at a cheaper cost is not so easy. So that's again maybe a threat that is there for this industry, but that's a faraway threat. Now I'll just deal a little bit about about this industry as a whole, how, as far as the regulations were there and how it got transformed. Before 1991, if you really see, the cooperatives were major in this industry, and they were taking milk and selling, but their collection of milk and their marketing of milk was not keeping pace with the demand that was rising. And again, I was mentioning you how the demand is going to be around about 250 million metric tons we need to produce in the next 5-6 years. So then, there was a shift in the thinking of the Government of India policy, and also and before 1991, it was under the Industrial Development and Regulation Act, under IRDA. It was there, which was formed in 1951. So after 1991, slowly in 92, government brought the milk and milk product orders. It was called MMPO, and they opened the door for private sector. And what they told was, private sector can come into collection and handling and processing and distribution of milk, and anybody who's handling 10,000 liters and or 500 metric tons of milk solids could get registered, and they were allocated a milk shed. Only they were allocated to buy from one area, and they were able to operate in that area only for collection of milk. Then slowly, when private sector also started developing the milk shed, then Government of India felt that slowly they need to liberalize this, and in 2002 the milk product was MMP was amended, so that the private sector entrepreneurs and private sector could collect from anywhere. So they just deregulated the shed concept. And slowly in 2006, now everybody knows the Food Safety and Standard Authority of India, FSSAI Act, has been brought in 2006, and this is a very good move by the government to bring in good type of quality standards, both for procurement, production and marketing. So they are laying down standards for quality of procurement, quality of processing, and quality of product being sold. So they brought in this order in 2006, and this have quality standards, parameters on all through, right from your procurement stage to the plant gate to the consumer stage. So that's a very good move that the government of India done. As Dr. Shivaram was telling about the exports, India basically is not being able to export to the Western countries, because the milk industry, if you see on a world basis, the US was the major producer, but India has overtaken it, and we are trying to feed our country's population with our own milk production. But as far as quality is concerned, they have very good and high norms as far as the Western countries and the Oceania countries are concerned. So if you see European countries, they produce with the standard, and you have US standard, FDA standard, FDI is having a standard, and also the Oceania countries, Australia and New Zealand, which is called the Oceania countries, they also have surplus milk production, and they have a standard where they have very good standard for right from your adulterations to the aflatoxin levels, all that are a little bit high. So India also needs now to set in their quality parameters with FSI standards. I think we can also meet that in the days to come. So to meet the international standards and supply to big institution in the international level, then the quality right from the stage of sourcing has to be very correct, and also right from the feeding practices. And they're able to control that in the overseas because there's large farms. So aflatoxins and all, right from the farm, it has to be controlled. And they're able to control that because they have large size farm, whereas India, it's scattered farms. So either we need to organize the farm slowly, or we need to bring in good milk practices at the farm level, bring in that type of a culture, and that should be some type of revolution that we bring into this industry, so that we also are able to compete in the international standards with the international quality parameters. And for India to increase on the product side, certain products like skim milk powder and all has BIS standards, and they audit the plant and they give certification, and powder is sold with BIS certificate. And also for exports, today we have the export inspection agencies. That's Export Inspection Council has an agency called Export Inspection Agency. So they come and audit the plant, or they audit from the procurement to the processing to the marketing stage. They audit, and also they give rights for self-certification. And I'm proud to say that our Shakti Dairy is being we have got the Export Inspection Agency certificate for self-certification. We have got a self-certification this thing. So all the export this thing what we produce, we clear it ourselves by giving certification, and the plant is being audited once in a year by EA. So EA is something must in India if we need to have some type of a quality standard to say in the international market. So EA is a certificate that India is giving, and certain countries accept it. But whereas European countries and certain other countries, they have their own quality parameters and they have their own audit system. Like for example, if you take Malaysia, they come and audit the plant, they come and give an audit certification. But certain countries in the Middle East, they accept for EA certification. Certain countries like Singapore and all, they take for EA certification. But European countries and US and Oceania countries, they have their own audit system, or we need to match their standards. So in international global playing, if we want to have this transformation industry, then possibly two solutions. One is having organized farms, or bringing in CMP, good milking practices at the farm level, and the feeding practices needs to be audited on a larger basis if we are going to produce quality products for the international market. Now, future trends, if you see, as far as the products are concerned, the value-added products is growing well, and because of the commercialization, urbanization of India with the demographic dividend. If you see, cream, cottage cheese, and cheese, wherein there is a good value as well as good high margin for the companies. That segment is where being now concentrated. A lot of people are gone into the cheese market, the paneer market, which is the cottage cheese. And cream, fresh cream, the shelf life is very low. So a lot of people have not gone for that. Whereas some companies like Amul and Britannia and all gone up for Tetra Pak cheese, where the shelf life could be increased to 180 days. Whereas Tetra Pak investment is very high. A single line TBA costs around, say, 1.5 to 2 crores. So we have different lines. For every 200 to 500, you have one line, and more than that, one liter, you have another line. So investments are a little bit large. And UHT process lines are also high, so that you need to around 10 crore investment if you need to have a range of tetra packing project. So if you see cheese, is a market where you can sell it through like a butter, or you can sell it through the channel of paneer. It's a 4-degree chain process. So companies are now trying to attack that. And curd and yogurt is a very good market. There again, if you see, it's a low value, whereas the gross margins are higher. So curd and yogurt is also picking up, and a lot of companies have gone into that. Like curd, a lot of people went right from 2005. Today, that's becoming more saturated, and the competition is very high. Maybe the segment of yogurt is now picking up in the urban market. So if you see, as far as the overall trend is concerned, today people are producing yogurt and trying to market, but yogurt is still not a product commodity that has come to even B towns. It's more like a cosmo culture product, and it's slowly picking up. Whereas cheese has today come out as a product wherein like it's going down to up to B segment markets. So a lot of people are now concentrating on cheese and paneer. Paneer has now gone down even up to the level of C towns. So paneer is being manufactured by a lot of companies, and margins are good in that. And the competition also set in paneer. So curd and paneer more or less getting matured, and the competition is becoming higher, whereas cheese is still differentiated, and maybe it's an emerging market for the future. And rural market is something like, it's creating a huge bang now, and go rural is going to be the slogan, and rural is the new urban. So a lot of people are trying to market in the rural areas these value-added products like, flavored milk, and buttermilk, and paneer. These are all being sold in the rural market. So rural markets also picking up, and you could think why milk is sourced from the village and is taken to the towns. And there, if you see today, I was telling you, the transformation is taking place from getting loose milk to a branded quality product milk. So if you find today, a lot of people are putting projects in the nearby town of these villages and collecting milk and packing it. They're processing it well. They're packing it and giving good product with a longer shelf life to the villages. And also they're making good products like curd and paneer and giving to the villages. So that's transformation of good products to the villages and to the rural market to be given is also increasing today. So rural is a market which is a future for the dairy industry, which a lot of people are trying to concentrate. Now, milk is, again, if you see, a lot of people think that milk is milk. No, milk has a lot of properties and goodness, and it's a good, very good functional food. And in fermented products, you have the lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, which improve the gastrointestinal health very much. Curd and yogurt and buttermilk, all is very good for your immunity system, and in the modern context and the present day, immunity is something that we need to think of. And to that, curd, fermented products are very good. And again, the whey proteins and whey products are coming out very well, and people think what milk has both the LDL and HDL, and HDL is in more components, so still it's very good. And you also have the option of consuming any fat milk. Without no fat milk, you can consume skim milk, or you want a double tone milk, you can take a toned milk. You want a high fat milk, you can take. But one thing we need to see is that milk has conjugated linoleic acid, which we call CNLA. It's very good property, it is an anti-cancer property, anti-sclerosis property. So if you see, CLA is a good product that is available in the milk, and consuming of milk is very good for even diabetic. It's anti-diabetic. And whey proteins. Now the whey protein markets are getting increased, and the beta lactoglobulins and the lactoferrins. It's very good. It has antibacterial property. It has enhanced synthesis of glutathione and a natural antioxidant. So it is a very good product for our body. And there are a lot of prebiotics. Really, this is something we need to all see. It has lactulose, it has lacto-oligosaccharides, these are all prebiotics, and it promotes the probiotic bacteria in the body. Oligosaccharides promote the prebiotic body, so it's very good for your gut. It's very good for your digestion, and the bifidogenic factors improve the GIT conditions in the infants and the digestibility. So this is very good, and biotic peptides of milk protein is also a very good source of protein for the human body. So if you see, it's a very good functional food. Now, I was talking about the whey proteins. Whey proteins, how it comes is when you make paneer or cheese, the coagulation takes place and the proteins which don't coagulate come out as in the whey product. It comes out as a liquid. Now this liquid, as well as the cheese and paneer wheys, are taken and they have a process of ultra high treatment ultra high filtration. They go for the UHF filtration, or they have the concentrators to concentrate these and then spray dry it to make the protein concentrates or the protein powder. And they can have these proteins can be used in different products. They mix in different products to give you a good source of protein. So anyway, if you consume milk, these proteins are there in that. So you get these proteins. So simple way is consume milk. You get, it's a balanced diet. You get everything. You get all your body requirement of protein, calcium, and vitamins, and phosphorus. You get your minerals that you require. So otherwise also you can get these products. This market for these products are today developing very well. Milk protein concentrates and milk protein isolates are getting very good market, and whey protein concentrate, whey protein isolates are also getting very good market. And protein solution bars have come. Like you need to have X amount of this thing. You can take a protein bar and then just chew it. You get your protein content for your body. So these are the products that is taking place as far as the nutraceutical products. So I talked about the functional, the nutraceutical value of milk. And when I was talking of the whey, you can see in the market today, the development of whey-based drinks have come. A lot of whey-based drinks, cheese whey is taken, or they take the whey concentrate powder and then they mix it with beverages and then give it to people in various flavors. And that is something that is coming up today in the market. These are called protein drinks. And these whey concentrate and whey isolate powders are coming for building your body protein to get your protein for bodybuilding. So these products are also having very good future in the market. And basically these, when marketed on a large way, when it comes down to the B segment markets, then I think it will have very good future. And also these whey powders are being used in candies today to give the protein requirement for the children. So that's a product that is developing very well now in the market. And another thing of milk today is also fortification. Through milk, you can give a lot of essential ingredients to the people. Today, government has mandated, it's given the mandatory requirement of you need to fortify with vitamins. So you can see this in our Shakti milk packet, that fortification mark F, wherein vitamin is being fortified. And you can also fortify with essential amino acids and essential minerals and essential fatty acids if you want through milk, and give it. And future, I think if government needs to have some type of reduction of malnutrition, milk is the easy solution for reducing malnutrition, and it is doing in the country to reduce the malnutrition of the children, and it has been doing for large years. And if suppose government wants to put in some type of another ingredients to reduce malnutrition, milk is a good base. Milk is a good media. So that's where milk plays a vital part in the future also. And then now the time when we need to improve the immunity. Today you have milk powder being mixed with all this haldi or ginger or pepper, and you get ready to mix and drink milk. You can drink that and increase your immunity. That's something today people are concentrating and trying to market in the market. And also they make milk drinks and pack in the Tetra Pak. You get a haldi milk, or you get your spiced milk in Tetra Packs, where you can take and then just drink and increase your immunity. So that's again a market that is developing for the future, and maybe if it's marketed in a big way. And now is the market, I think, for these spiced milk market is for the future. A lot of people are now trying to address that market and try to improve this marketing of these products. People who are having Tetra Pak line are trying to capture this market now. They bring in 200 ml Tetra Pak for them to sell, and then give various variants in this milk. And this is a perfect way of mixing our tradition along with milk to increase the immunity of our body. So if you see, milk, as I've been explaining to you, is a global complete food. And if you see, it's a common man's balanced food, and it's a food for all ages. Right from the day we are born, we are taking milk, and till for the time we live, we can continue to take milk. And it's one of the best immunoboosters for the body to stay fit and healthy. So what I can say in conclusion is, drink milk, eat milk products, and enjoy a good health. So these are a range of products. If you see, we have our milk in various variants. I was mentioning about double toned milk, we have special milk, which is a standardized milk, 4.5% fat, and we have super milk is a toned milk. Then supreme milk is a full fat milk. Then we have curd, which is double tone curd and also a toned curd, 1.5%. Also we have a 3% fat, and we also, apart from these variants, we have also put in a new variant where we give skim milk also in the market and skim curd also in the market. We have cup curd, we have the cooking butter, we have the paneer, and we have the ghee. And today we are marketing our products also abroad. Our ghee and skim milk powder is being sold in overseas countries. Our ghee is well accepted in the Middle East and Far East markets. And we also sell dairy whitener, and we also sell skim milk powder. So this is the whole thing that I wanted to mention about the past, present, and future of the milk industry and where the industry is heading towards. And this is an industry which is keeping pace with the development, and it's a good base for nourishing the whole country, and it's product for everybody. So with this, I would like to conclude, and I would say a big thank you